Oh, it worked that time. Oh, would you look at that? Hello. I was thrown off. We tried for 4 straight times. It said error occurred. I had zero hope that this was going to work. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm surprised, Joe Zollo. This week we're talking Packers, Bucs, and Texans. And due to lack of interest in people hating us, we have no guests this week. TBD stayed TBD and is currently TBD again. So it is just the boys today. We are continuing with our Look Inside series. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. As always, Josh, Ryan. Hello, Ryan. You're muted.
Hello.
I've missed a week.
Normally you mute me and unmute me, but then we had the technical difficulty, so I muted myself, and then that ruined
How about this? The issue was your fucking Twitter account. Apparently, you need a premium Twitter account now in order to live stream. So so you're the problem.
So we're not live to my Twitter audience anymore?
No. Wow, all right.
Tell your followers to follow us, dude. Like, come on, man.
I don't have a plan for that already. So
it's fucking this. So for those that Ryan's the reason. Ryan's the reason we started late, and now we're here.
Must have been my Firefox.
And I'm simply flustered. We're going to start with some great news because there's just nothing good that can happen in the NFL this offseason, apparently. Jordan Addison arrested for a possible DUI. We don't know. Possibly.
That's what the headline said, which I thought was weird because I guess when they found him, he wasn't technically driving, but he was still in his car, passed out, blocking a exit lane on the freeway. So.
As someone who has no life and watches a ton of YouTube DUI videos, you do not need to be driving to get a DUI.
Arrested for possible DUI.
Yeah. I mean, people fall asleep in their car all the time in the middle of an intersection.
I mean, don't you?
Could have narcolepsy.
Yeah.
Or whatever that.
Listen. The media.
Fall asleep on a whim. I don't know.
The media's been on one recently. Okay. Trump rushed off stage after falling. I don't think that was the headline, CNN. I think it was a little different. I think something else happened there. So the media's been on one recently. And also breaking news, Davante Adams hates Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's awesome.
I missed that. What's the story there?
Oh, you haven't seen? I haven't watched Receiver
College Football
at all.
25. Literally only thing I've done.
Well, the new show Receiver on Netflix. I haven't watched a single ounce of it because I don't have Netflix. But I do have Twitter, and people have posted the clip of Davante Adams getting pissed the fuck off at Jimmy Garoppolo because, frankly, Jimmy Garoppolo is bad at football.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
because he's Jimmy Garoppolo. So there you go. But we are starting in the beautiful city of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Smallest city with an NFL team not named Foxborough, Massachusetts. But it is the New England Patriots, so that technically doesn't count. But named after a certain city, it is the smallest, around 100,000 people in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nearest international airport, Appleton, Wisconsin. Fun fact, you have to go to Appleton.
Show tonight.
I don't know, I'm just telling you. These are fun facts about Green Bay that I learned.
You know who would love those facts? My Twitter audience.
Yeah,
when never going to hear them.
When I went to Green Bay, I learned these things because we flew into Chicago and drove up to Green Bay because nobody went... There weren't flights to Green Bay that were like accessible in 2014. You know, in the dark times, in the before times, literally BC before COVID. Green Bay Packers 9-8 just eked their way into the playoffs and managed to look pretty well. Honestly, in the end of it, they look pretty well. Same coach Matt LaFleur, same offense. He is calling the plays, but Adam Stenavich is the second season as the offensive coordinator. If I mispronounce his name, so what? You're not even calling the plays. Jordan Love is the quarterback 1, currently drafted QB 10. The backup, I'd give you a million guesses, and none of you would ever say Sean Clifford. None of you would say that. The big red dog from the book you were reading as a kid, none of you would have said that. Right. Josh Jacobs, RB12. Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie behind him at 43. And a fall from grace, A.J. Dillon, RB74. Thanks for coming. Probably should have left Green Bay. Jayden Reed, wide receiver 1, is wide receiver 34. Christian Watson behind him at wide receiver 43. Dobbs is 54, and Dontavian Wicks is 59. I don't think there's 4 wide receivers on any NFL roster that are within the top 60 of ADP. You could even extend that to maybe even triple digits at that point, because I don't think there's many core 4 wide receivers that are within the top 100.
Top 60.
No one near the top 60, and you might be able to even stretch that to 100. Bo Melton just outside of it, wide receiver 5 at wide receiver 105. Tight ends, Luke Musgrave is 17, and Tucker Kraft is 32. We will start with the quarterback, because apparently Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, they just seemingly can't miss on quarterbacks as of the last 30 years. So they've done well, to say the least, going from Favre, Rodgers to now Jordan Love. I don't know any other team that's, again, Love's early on. We're assuming he's going to be pretty good. He's looked good,
Pretty
Ryan.
good last year.
Yeah.
He looked good last year. How do we feel about him at 10?
Well, and that's what I was going to talk about. Is this is a weird situation, and I can't remember who we ran into this with a few years ago, where everybody loves the weapons down to the 4th wide receiver. We're talking about the backup.
The 5th.
Yeah, we're talking about the backup tight end, and yet we're getting him as the 10th quarterback when he was the QB5 last year. There's a disconnect. Like, we can't just love the weapons, and I don't want to call QB10 hate the quarterback. And what's interesting is with this best ball ADP, no quarterbacks are truly hated right now. I was just researching for an article today. Jared Goff is the QB12. He's still going in the 8th round. So we have to wait for these ADPs to kind of come back down to earth when regular drafts start next month. But even still, just looking at the 10 part of it, you're telling me there are 10 quarterbacks, 9 quarterbacks who are going to jump this guy when only 4 quarterbacks beat him last year. His weapons are fully healthy heading into the season. We don't know how that's going to play out. But as you just pointed out, he arguably, fantasy football-wise, might have the best weapons in the league right now. The value of waiting on quarterback this year, which is such a twist from when we saw everybody overdrafting Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen 2 years ago, the value on waiting on quarterback this year is immense. Like, you're landing top 5 quarterbacks after the rest of your league. In a 10-team league, Jordan Love is the last starter. If I'm the last person to draft my starter and get Jordan Love, I mean, I'll take my championship and my winner's bounty at the end of the season happily. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing we were saying about Dak Prescott last week. Like, I mean, he was a top 3 quarterback last year, has, league leading passing touchdown upside, and yet he's going as a bottom 10 quarterback. Like, make it make sense. Seriously. Like, to me, those 2 guys are very interchangeable, which makes sense. Dak is being drafted as QB9, Love at QB10, but these are both top 5 guys. Like, we're propping up these rushing quarterbacks simply because of that, because of the value that they offer with their legs. But if they're not bringing it with their passing, then they're going to get lapped by these guys that have 35 plus touchdown upside, 32 plus, touchdown upside. So to me, it's why the board is falling the way that it is when it comes to quarterbacks makes no sense. But Ryan, to your point, take the value of quarterback. There's literally no point in reaching for guys like Anthony Richardson when Jordan Love is just going to fall in your lap.
So outside of Allen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, I don't imagine you're taking Jordan Love over any of them.
I will have, and over is such an interesting thing. In fantasy football, I would put Jordan Love over Patrick Mahomes. He was the QB8 last year. There's no reason to think he's going to jump up and all of a sudden do better. He played all his games last year. His weapons have stayed relatively the same. Patrick Mahomes in the NFL, best quarterback, hands down. In fantasy football, Jordan Love has higher upside.
That's fair.
I disagree with that, Ryan, because they figured out the issue that, hey, Patrick Mahomes' weapons kind of sucked last year. So they went out and got him some new ones. And in reality,
Did they get
should
him
be
good
better.
ones though? Did they?
I was gonna say, I'd
look.
like to. I mean, we got Worthy
got
dealing
new
with
ones.
injury already, and it's 2 weeks until.
Yeah, remember
Brown.
when
But there's
remember when he didn't participate in combine drills because he's a bitch? I wonder. Sniff that one out really early on.
Like I said,
there's at least the threat of attention that can be taken away from Travis Kelce is what I'm getting
Wasn't
at.
there that
Hollywood Brown
threat
is
with
proven to
5
be
guys
good
that
in this
ran
league.
4.4 speed on the roster already? Or his weapon is Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice behind bars. Those are his weapons currowed
everybody knows
Rice isn't behind bars, so
everybody knows
he hasn't been suspended yet either. And he showed his growth towards the end of the season. Now you add in the speed threats.
Listen, I love
with
Rashee Rice.
Hollywood Brown, who has actually shown that he can catch the football when it's
also shown he can drop the football.
I was literally going to say,
but he still doesn't have a drop rate like MVS, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
but
the
to Joe's
common
point,
person has a better drop rate than MVS.
I'm notoriously high on Love and Dak Prescott, and head-to-head, ADP not included, I would take either one of them over Patrick Mahomes in redraft this season.
I mean, I'm fine taking Love if you're just saying, to me, Patrick Mahomes is still overpriced. I don't think that he is, but again, like I have Mahomes at 3 and Love at 5 in my rankings. Okay. Like it's literally Mahomes, Love, Mahomes, Jackson, Love, Prescott. Like that's my 3 through 6 right there.
That's fair.
So if you're telling me that, Jordan Love is the QB 10, that's probably the quarterback I'm going to end up with.
I was going to say, when you throw value in here, it's
that's what I'm saying. Like when you're talking value, then yeah, Love is the guy. But like, I don't think that there's just this huge disparity in ADP between all
I mean, we talk about that all the time too. There's not even a huge disparity between these quarterbacks. Like I'm talking, what do I have? A 5-point difference between my 5 and 8 at Love and Mahomes. I would prefer Love, but there's literally a 1 touchdown difference between them.
I mean, in best ball right now, Mahomes is going at the top of the 5th round, Dak at 8-12, and Jordan Love at 9-2. So yeah, when you're talking best ball, 100%.
Well, I mean,
a big disparity there.
All of my favorite best ball rosters are the ones where I get an early pick in the 1st round, and I grab Love at 8-12 and Prescott at 9-2 or whatever. Like I have so many rosters with both of those guys. They are my 2 favorite quarterbacks. If I'm wrong, I donated a lot of money to Underdog. If I'm right, I'm going to be raking it in at the end of the year. So.
One of his weapons who doesn't exactly have a drop problem, but has a problem of staying on the field and being healthy. Christian Watson was the wide receiver 1 last year. He's currently 2 in ADP, but he's still probably 1. He's probably the X on the depth chart. Who knows at this point? We're going to find that out very soon. Christian Watson, Josh. If you say anything good, you're off the show.
I have a lot of good things to say.
All right. Well,
but again, if we're talking about ADP,
I still don't
find me wide receivers in the 40 range that have the upside of a 27% target share in this offense.
Deal.
Go for it.
Deontay Johnson.
Boom.
literally the pick after Christian Watson. Literally
now
the pick
guys
after.
That have the touchdown upside of Christian Watson, because that I can promise you can't do.
The
Keon Coleman. Jackson. Cortland Sutton
has not scored touchdowns at a rate that Christian Watson has.
Rashid Shaheed. I stand by all these names I'm saying. I stand by every single one.
So dumb. In 9
Jerry
games
Jeudy.
that Christian Watson, shut the fuck up with Jerry Jeudy. In 9 games played last year, Christian Watson had the 3rd lowest catchable target rate. Okay, and led all of the NFL over the last 2 years in end zone target percentage. Here's the funny thing: Deontay Johnson was actually 2nd amongst that. Christian Watson has a 50% touchdown rate.
Hold on,
okay.
I'm going to rewind.
14 over the last 2 years.
So remember when Will Fuller had that 1 year, and then he basically fell off the face of the earth? That's Christian Watson.
What is end zone target percentage? The amount of his targets?
The amount of passes that are getting thrown in the end zone that end up at that individual.
But I mean,
so let's say if there's 100 end zone targets and he has a 50% target rate, it's 50. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what that stat means.
Okay.
Awesome.
He gets targeted when they are in the end zone.
Yeah, totally. That was with Aaron Rodgers, right? When he had that.
Wasn't.
No.
It was with Jordan Love.
Wasn't it not? Am I stupid?
Well, yeah, 2 years ago would have been with Rodgers.
2 years ago was with Aaron Rodgers.
Last year, too, it was still a very high touchdown rate. When you look at target percent, when all three of these guys, Christian Watson, Jayden Reed, and Romeo Doubs, are all on the field together, Doubs has an 18% target share. Jayden Reed, 22% target share. Christian Watson is at 27%. He is the guy that Jordan Love looks for in this offense. And shout out to Dwayne McFarland for those stats. Now, when you look,
I don't like the stats, so not shout out to Dwayne McFarland.
When you look at the 2 games in weeks 12 and 13, now I understand this is a small sample size, but this is when Jordan Love really started to get going before Christian Watson then fell down and, hurt his hamstring once again. Watson had a 23.5% target share, averaged 3 yards per route run, and had a first read target share percent of 29.2%. He is the guy in this offense that makes it go when he is on the field because of the things that he can do.
That just don't even fucking matter to me. It's fucking in one ear, out the other. First read target percentage in these 2 weeks. These
are the types of numbers that high target share earners get. All those guys that are being drafted in the top 12, top 10 in fantasy football with these 25, 26, 27% target shares, they all have high target shares when it comes to first reads in the offense.
So
they're the ones that are getting open and getting targeted. That is Christian Watson for this Packers offense.
Can I ask you about the 5 straight weeks of 0 touchdowns in 4 of them under 40 yards, 2 of them under 30 yards?
That's a product of the Packers offense.
Because
they continue to spread the football around. That's what they do. That's why Jayden Reed had a literal 0 in the playoffs.
Yes. Massive.
That's
huge.
The problem with this team. That's why all of their ADPs are so depressed. But if you're telling me that there's one guy that has the ability to actually rise above that and be a somewhat consistent target guy, I want the guy that is going to lead this team in target share when he's on the field. And right now, his price is so incredibly low, it's stupid not to buy into him.
So where I'm not, I'll give you that. Where I'm going to disagree with you is on the target share part of it. This feels like the George Pickens, Deontay Johnson situation with a good quarterback, where Watson feels like the George Pickens simply as the big play guy. The issue is there's not one Deontay Johnson, there's 2, because we've seen Romeo Doubs be a target guy. We've seen Jayden Reed be a target guy. I just don't know that Watson, I understand your stats are there, but I think if we ever got a 17-game season, I don't think the numbers would shake out that way.
All right, so how about we look at personnel groupings then?
Let's do it.
The Green Bay Packers were 21st in the league in 3 wide receiver sets. Guess who plays out of the slot? Jayden Reed.
Yeah.
So if they're going to heavy, 12 personnel or anything of that nature, which they ran the 3rd highest in the league last year, who's coming off the field? It's not Christian Watson. Jayden Reed.
Or Doubs.
Who blocks better?
It's Jayden Reed.
Who blocks better? That's my question.
Who's taller? Christian Watson, 6'4".
Whose hamstring isn't a pile of glass?
I'll go with that one. Now
you want that guy blocking? In his division, I'm not defending any secondary ever, but in this division, it's a secondary that likes to
makes
hit.
Sense if he's being drafted as the wide receiver 20. He's not. He's being drafted as the wide receiver 43.
Sure.
To your point, Josh.
At that point, you're chasing upside.
I said, to your point, the biggest problem I have in drafts is they all fall to me at ADP, and I want to take all of them, but that's just a stupid way of drafting. Yeah. But literally, they all fall, and I'm like, yeah, I'll literally just take every single one.
I'm avoiding Christian Watson. I think he's far too injury prone.
I'll tell you right now, you threw out fucking Deontay Johnson. I don't want to hold Deontay Johnson's ADP against Christian Watson, but that is criminal that Deontay Johnson is being drafted that low. So
DeAndre Hopkins down that far.
I don't know what to make of that offense. I've been struggling.
Well, apparently Will Levis likes him, and that's all you need to know.
There you
That is all that matters, truthfully.
Talk about a touchdown guy. Jordan Addison, also aforementioned, also there.
Yeah, but are they going to have as high a touchdown rate with JJ McCarthy at quarterback?
I'm fine with Jordan Addison.
You mean
that's where he belongs.
You mean the unsigned JJ McCarthy still because they're haggling over guaranteed money? Bitch, you threw for 7 yards at Michigan. Stop haggling over your guaranteed money. But we will go to Jayden Reed, who is currently being drafted as the wide receiver 1 on the team. And this is because, quote, both Ryan and Josh are
characteristically.
I know why. I don't know why I was characteristically high on that. I know how to say the word. I was struggling for a second. Both uncharacteristically high on the guy. He's currently wide receiver 34. So I want to see where this ends. I want to see where it ends. Now, for Ryan, it ends at 33 because that's Keenan Allen. So that was a really...
I'll take Jayden Reed way over Keenan. I am full in at this point. So.
That's rude. Come on. That's rude. Our guy? Our dog?
Might
our
just
boy?
be your guy this year, Joe.
Our boy?
Hey, whoa.
Our boy? Our child?
Here's the thing. You haven't asked the question yet, so I haven't had to say it out loud yet. Maybe
you're going to put our child on the doorsteps of the firehouse like that?
You're right.
What the hell?
I can't do
All
that
right.
to us.
So I'm just gonna go up and just say, just say Reed or the next person. So Jayden Reed or Keenan Allen. Obviously Jayden Reed for both of you guys.
Yep.
Hollywood Brown. Reed.
Jayden Reed, easy.
Terry McLaurin.
Jayden Reed, easy.
Jayden Reed. Christian Kirk.
I definitely Reed for me, but I know Josh is not.
I have Reed at 16 and Christian Kirk at 17.
I'm taking Christian Kirk. Amari Cooper or Jayden Reed?
I'll take Amari Cooper. I went back and recently looked. His numbers, even with Deshaun Watson, are so
exactly
good.
The same. Yeah,
he just needs to end this holdout. So
here's the thing.
So is that
I like Reed from an overall production standpoint. I'm fairly certain that I would take Kirk and Cooper over him in redraft. Just for the consistency level.
I would not take Kirk, but
well, you're wrong. So then that's fine. That's okay. You can everyone please stay asleep on Christian Kirk for the 3rd straight year.
I mean, I love
please
Kirk. I'm just not taking him over Reed. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think I have to either. So.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can get both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. That's true. T. Higgins, George Pickens, Zay Flowers.
Higgins is the interesting one to me. Pickens, I'm in love with. I can't move off of the guy. Zay Flowers, I put them equal, but I'd probably take Reed. But Higgins, I don't know how to project what he's going to do yet. It seems like he's going to be there, but I don't know. It's interesting.
I like
based
Higgins.
on how I would draft them would be Zay, Flowers, Jayden Reed, Pickens, then Higgins.
That checks out for you.
Yes, I would put Pickens ahead of all of them, and then Reed would be second for me.
I want to have faith that T. Higgins will play full season and get a massive contract because I think that's what he wants. But I don't know his body will hold up.
What will determine whether or not I'm fucking with T. Higgins this season is if he misses any part of the summer. Those guys already tend to get hurt at a higher frequency, and then there's the T. Higgins effect. He will not be on a single team of mine if he skips anything during the summer.
Sure. Best bets. Here we go. Ryan, you have Green Bay to win the NFC North at plus 195.
It's plus money.
All I have to do is beat out Detroit.
Yeah. So I was like, I like it. There's profit to be made.
Why not? Josh, most regular season passing touchdowns. Jordan Love plus 1,600 on Donkey
last
Kong.
Year, and winner was 36, so
look at that.
All within his range of outcomes for plus money.
And I'm the 3rd person, and I didn't know I was doing this until 2 minutes before the show went on.
It's because you don't read a show sheet.
I tell you this every week. If you wanted me to make picks, you should have told me earlier. But I will tell you, whatever Marshawn Lloyd's rushing line is, over. That's what I think. I think Marshawn Lloyd sees a good bit of time this year.
Find out.
And I hope so.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, well, let's see. While you figure
while
that
he's
out.
looking that up, Joe, why do you think that? Do you think they're just going to be looking to get him more involved, or do you think we're going to start seeing the breakdown of Josh Jacobs?
I think a little bit of both. Jacobs, it was just a 1-year deal, right? He only signed for a season?
Technically a 4-year deal, but they have outs after every single season. So
Okay. So, yeah, it's a 1-year deal. I do think after 2 straight seasons of being pounded into the ground, yes, he's 27. Like, it's a good age for a running back. But you're not built like Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore. You got to break down at some point. Josh Jacobs has to. And I also think Marshawn Lloyd is a fantastic running back. He was one of my favorite ones that I got to see at the Combine. So,
I wonder where Josh Jacobs is from. Because Green Bay is also going to be very different weather from Bama and Las Vegas. So.
Correct.
So
it is going
DraftKings does
much
not
different.
have a prop for him.
I would be shocked if most places would even have a prop on a backup running back. But again, but
a lot of rookies had.
It's a rookie running back.
Not the running backs, though.
Yeah, not the running backs. Whatever. We don't need to find it. But if you find it, take the over on it because I like it a lot. Going down to middle southern West Florida, Clearwater. I don't know. It's like they call Tampa Central Florida, but then they also call Orlando Central Florida, which is Central Florida.
Yeah,
but Tampa's on the west side of Florida. It's very confusing. Central Florida, it's all of Florida, essentially. All of Florida is Central Florida. Yeah. Outside of Miami, which is
I would say everything north of Miami is Central
everything north
Florida.
of Miami is Central Florida.
Pretty much.
And then there's Tallahassee, and that's all you need to know. But we're going to Tampa Bay, 9-8, same coach, Todd Bowles. New offense, Liam Cohen is the OC. He was the Rams OC last year, but he didn't call plays. Just a bunch of guys who don't call plays here as the offensive coordinators. It's great. Projected starting offense, Baker Mayfield, quarterback 23 currently, and his backup is Kyle Trask.
Yeah, boy.
Aforementioned. Gator, Tallahassee. No, I'm kidding. That's not Tallahassee. Rachaad White. Yeah, no, it's not Tallahassee. That would be the Knowles, baby.
Yeah.
Rachaad White, RB15. Bucky Irving, the blind man, RB54. Chase Edmonds and Sean Tucker, undrafted. And to the guy who was pissed that I took Sean Tucker over him in the second round after accidentally hitting the fucking wrong button, he's the RB4 in this offense. Go piss off.
Likely not making the team.
Dynasty League. Jeez. Mike Evans, wide receiver 17. Chris Godwin, 36. Jalen McMillan, 82. And Trey Palmer, 109. Tight end 1. Cade Otton is the tight end 20. We'll start in the backfield with Rachaad White, RB15. Josh hated him last year. I have a funny feeling he's going to say that just because he's going to get so much volume that you have to buy Rachaad White at his price.
I was a little shocked when I got into the show sheet and saw Josh's name next to Rachaad White. So
I
had every intention of just being like, why are we still believing in Rachaad White and taking him this high?
For those who don't know, I did a draft for Josh last year because he couldn't make it, and he basically just told me, don't get Rachaad White. He's like, everyone in the league is Tampa fans anyway, so they're going to overpay for him, but do not walk out of this with Rachaad White. That was his only instruction for me.
Yeah. So this is what I find interesting. If I read off these numbers, would you tell me this was like a top 8 running back in fantasy last year?
I already know the numbers. No.
Tied for 51st in yards per carry. Mm-hmm. Tied for 31st in yards of 15 plus yards. 51st in yards after contact per attempt. Tied for 44th in overall PFF grade.
I don't give a shit about the PFF.
I
know you
leave
don't.
that one off.
But all the other numbers suck.
Yeah, all the real numbers suck.
Wasn't Christian McCaffrey 29 or whatever that
Christian
year?
McCaffrey was 44 and Jordan Mason was 2.
Wait, whoa. What was Christian McCaffrey?
I'm pretty sure it was 44.
Josh, what's Rachaad White?
Like 20 something.
Josh, no, he was not.
White?
No, 44. When we were on the show, Christian McCaffrey was
Rachaad White.
Christian McCaffrey was in the 40s and Jordan Mason was RB2 according to PFF.
That was in like the middle of the season though.
Yeah, but regardless.
Yeah. I mean, he was tied for 18th and missed tackles forced too. Like, he's just not a very good running back.
Time out. It was in the middle of the season. It's Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason is the RB2. Deontay Hardy had to change his fucking name after
one.
being PFF's number 2 rated receiver,
I thought it was
and he's
one.
bounced around from practice squad to practice squad. Is Jordan Mason employed?
Yeah. and
How are
he's
the
San
people at
Francisco
Pro
still.
Football Focus employed? Who made the fucking algorithm to put Jordan Mason at RB2?
I love when
In
we
fairness,
have
at the
guests.
end of season, McCaffrey was the number 2 rated running back.
He should have. Who's fucking won? What are
Devon
we
Achane.
doing? Who?
Devon Achane.
Not even in the same
Which is
conversation.
hardly surprising given how insanely efficient he was
I
last
don't care. I don't care. Use your fucking eyeballs for 2 seconds. Jesus. What? Rachaad White. Terrible. Super inefficient. Gets 700 carries in receptions a game. So he's the RB8.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's a poor man's Joe Mixon. It's lack of efficiency meets health and volume. I mean, 2 straight years.
Poor man's
he's played
Joe
all
Mixon.
17 games.
He's a broke ass Joe Mixon.
Sounds to me
That
like
man-
he's like,
that is
He's
a-
a homeless Joe Mixon.
That is a fucking homeless Joe Mixon. Are you kidding me?
It sounds to me like he's the next Christian McCaffrey based on these PFF grades.
When you think about it, right? When you
Yeah.
think about it. Fucking.
Oh my
Jordan
god, I can't
Mason.
even get through this with a straight face.
I was gonna say,
You bring up PFF grades,
as soon
you're
as
a dummy.
PFF gets brought up, it's over. I got to give Joe a little bit of credit. When Josh or I brings up PFF, Joe, you go in. When a guest fucks up and brings up PFF, you're so much nicer about it. You're like, well,
Well, I'm definitely not. I wouldn't say I'm nicer because I'm pretty sure I've said.
you went in, but not like
Yeah,
you
like,
just did.
I'm pretty sure I may
Well, you
have
bring
told,
up Deontay Hardy every chance you get. So
Oh, of course.
that
I don't
was
even know what his original name was. I don't even know like what
Harris.
was he when
Harris.
he was wide.
I forgot too for a second. Yeah.
Here's the only thing I'm really going to say. RB15 is a fine price. Like, I have him as RB17. A lot of it is volume based, but they did spend a 3rd round pick on a rookie running back. They're
Who's
going
bad?
to try to give Bucky Irving some run, which is going to cut into those 272 rush attempts.
That's fine.
So I like it. 15 still feels high, truthfully, and they didn't really do a ton to upgrade that offensive line. Like they added free agent left guard and rookie center that they're breaking in, but their rookie right guard, Cody Mach, who a lot of people like coming out of the draft, was terrible last year. So maybe he improves a little bit heading into the season, but that offensive line still does not block well up the middle. Outside with Wirfs and Godicke, I believe his last name is, they're pretty solid. And Rachaad White has speed. He can get around the edges, which works. But this team consistently wants to run up the middle, which is not Rachaad White's strength. And it's not even like they drafted someone like an Audric Estime who's built to run in between the tackles. Bucky Irving's another speed guy who didn't run very fast at the combine. So,
Speed guy who didn't run
his
past
play
the
speed
combine.
is very different. His play speed is very different.
I was
He
gonna say
plays fast.
the Bucky Irving hate strictly because of the combine is a misplaced hate. If you
I
have
agree.
other reasons, to
But
hate
he's
him,
also very excelled as a pass catching running back. So that could very well, if he takes and grasps this offense, he could very well cut into Rachaad White's workload. I think RB15 is a fine price, but I think there's a lot more risk that comes with his price at that range than some of the other running backs.
I wonder if it's a chicken and egg argument on the inefficiency of the Tampa Bay running game. Over the last 2 seasons, they have averaged 3.4 yards per carry. So is that a Rachaad White, Leonard Fournette problem? Is that an offensive lineman problem? And Josh, you brought up they haven't really done much to improve the offensive line. And Rachaad White, last time I checked, is still Rachaad White. So you're not, if you're drafting Rachaad White, you need to go into this wide-eyed. He's not getting more efficient. You need him to get that volume. So those who don't believe in Bucky Irving, Rachaad White still seems like a fair play. In my rankings, my rankings very much trend towards volume. Rachaad White is my RB8 right now. But once we start hearing more and more about how they're splitting things right now, he's getting all the carries for me because it's trash behind him. Once I start hearing more about how Bucky Irving is taking to the offense, I could start stripping touches away from White, which is going to kill him in my ranking.
I mean, I have White at 205 rush attempts. So I've brought him down considerably.
See, I have him at 258. I have not matched you there yet. So
I'm gonna I want to weigh in here because Ryan asked a great question. Is what's the issue? It's the running backs because you have had the last 2 years one of the best receivers in the NFL, Mike Evans, who has never had under 1,000 yards. One of the better slot receivers in the NFL, Chris Godwin. One of those seasons, you had the best quarterback ever.
Baker
Who
Mayfield,
threw for almost 700 pass attempts.
Yeah.
So you weren't facing a loaded box at any point during the season. They don't see loaded boxes. It is the running backs. They don't have vision. And they drafted, arguably, the guy who has the worst vision in this class.
So he fits their prototype.
I'm scared if Bucky Irving wears a visor, he'll be legally blind on the field. Like, I'm scared. They don't have vision. The running backs, if they had a running back that ran a 5.2 but had good vision, he would average 7 yards per carry behind this offensive line. It doesn't matter. Do you know how good Nick Chubb would be in this offense? He would average 15 yards a carry. It'd be insane. He's doing that with bum-ass Deshaun Watson in a single fucking threat in Amari Cooper. Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette have no vision. That's the issue with them. They both have skill. Like, Leonard Fournette just ate so much McDonald's he was hard to tackle, and Rachaad White is legitimately shifty, but he has no vision getting through the line. When he gets through the line, he can make people miss, but Josh Brady, he's not strong. He's not doing things with yards after contact. He'll make you miss shifty-wise, but he's not running through you. Yeah, he needs all that volume. I don't think Bucky Irving bites into a lot of it, honestly. I think Bucky Irving is like every Oregon running back that's ever existed. Gonna get injured and flame out in 2 years. Here's exactly
the thing. I think they're at least going to try to give him an opportunity to work into it. That's what I think.
It's sure,
kind of similar last year to where, Tank Bigsby came in and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be a threat to Travis Etienne, but he didn't do shit. He didn't grasp the offense, struggled when he did, and they quickly gave up on it, right? That's what, they're going to give Bucky Irving the opportunity to. It's going to be up to Bucky Irving to whether or not that trend continues. Otherwise, they're going to have to lean on Rachaad White because they have to.
I'll give you that. We'll go to the wide receiver room and Chris Godwin. We're not going to talk about Mike Evans, who I believe at this time last year was in the 30s for his ADP.
Last year, he was an absolute... Well, and I wrote about this in my Baker Mayfield article. Last year, nobody knew what to make of this offense. Nobody trusted any part of this offense. And so for those of us who understand, there was one thing you could fucking set the time to, and that's Mike Evans getting 1,000 yards. He was just robbery last year. So.
Yeah, he was absolute robbery. He's now 17, but Chris Godwin basically slots in where he was last year, wide receiver 36. And he's sitting around some very interesting names that definitely have more upside than he. So, Ryan, how do we feel? Because I don't like Chris Godwin because I'm not trusting this offense.
So I wasn't sure how I felt until last week, and anyone who's followed this show for any period of time knows that I'm a fucking sucker for coach speak. And they used a 4-word statement that just sends me from 6 to midnight, and that is the Cooper Kupp rule. And my eyes turned into stars, and Chris Godwin shut up my rankings from the 30s to wide receiver 18. So I am all the way bought in.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did. And so I am all the way bought in on a high volume role for Chris Godwin. I don't know if the touchdowns are going to be there. He's clearly not as big as Cooper Kupp. I think Kupp's 6'4" and heavy, whereas Chris Godwin's 6'1".
I think
Cooper Kupp that big?
I think you're
don't think so.
woefully
I thought Kupp was big. Am I wrong? I hope
on the
I'm wrong.
size of Cooper Kupp. I'm looking it up right now. He's 6'2", 208. He's not very big.
So he's the same exact size as Chris Godwin, which makes this Chris Godwin argument even better. I thought Kupp was bigger than that. So I like what we could see out of Godwin.
6'1", 209 is Chris Godwin. They're literally the same size.
And that's even better for my argument. I just look like an idiot on the first part, but the bulk of this argument is I think Chris Godwin can eat in this role. I know what I'm getting from Mike Evans. That does not worry me one bit. But the fact of the matter is this. They have unproven we're talking about the bad running backs. They have unproven to nothing behind these two wide receivers. there is no reason for Chris Godwin or Mike Evans to ever leave the field. And we saw K. Dotton in a full-time role last year, and he was the tight end 19 in fantasy. I don't think he's going to do enough. I think there's a world where both of these guys, and we've seen this world in Tampa Bay, though not with Baker Mayfield in this offense, but where these guys are both 120, 130 target guys. I'll take the value on both of them happily. But I do think if they're envisioning Chris Godwin in this big slot role, it's going to work out really well for fantasy.
I have Godwin at wide receiver 38. So that's right around where his ADP is. That's
about where I had him. Yeah. And then I
haven't gone through. Yeah, I haven't gone through and fully tweaked yet, but I have both of these guys well over 120 targets apiece. So like this is going to be a pass funnel offense. It's going to be very similar to Philadelphia. It's going to run through Evans. It's going to run through Godwin.
How many targets do you have to Godwin?
I have 126 to Godwin and 132 to Evans. So like it's not crazy. But my biggest thing is I have Baker Mayfield coming down to earth a little bit. Like he had 28 touchdown passes last year.
I was going to, but I understand Dave Canales is really good at what he does, apparently. A revelation over the last 2 years. And I know Cohen did not call plays with the Rams, but if this is a Rams-esque offense, that's a good offense for fantasy football. So
it's a good offense, sure, but what makes anybody assume that Cohen is going to be able to call it the same way that Sean McVay does? And I think that's the biggest misconception when we're trying to project out some of these, OCs or QB coaches that come in and take over these play calling roles. Like we don't know what it's going to be. We're just kind of assuming that, it's the same system, so we can, drop people in place, and it's not always the case.
Do you remember how bad Zach Taylor was in his first year?
And that's fair, but I was going to say, we've seen Zach Taylor get it. We've seen, I'm losing the name.
Well, and I still don't believe that Zach Taylor's got it. He's a better CEO than he is a play caller.
I said, but we saw the guy from Minnesota and I know Chris Godwin's not Justin Jefferson, but they threw Justin Jefferson as the Cooper Kupp role, and that was Justin Jefferson's best year.
Look, I'm shocked Chris Godwin had 1,000 yards last year. That's news to me. I just found that out. But
he was very heavily targeted last year.
Oh, he had 130 targets. He just only caught 83 of them compared to 142 and 104 in 2022. Shocking that Tom Brady was more accurate than Baker Mayfield. So,
and again, these are some of my other problems. Like Baker wasn't even that accurate with Dave Canales, and that's the QB whisper. Liam Cohen, yes, he has a relationship with him, but I get it's a very small sample size with his time with the Rams, but there's nothing really that tells me that Cohen is going to be able to come in and keep Baker Mayfield right. We've seen way too many ebbs and flows in this guy's career, and he keeps getting these opportunities because he was a number 1 overall pick.
And also, Chris Godwin has had the same amount of touchdowns in the last 2 seasons as he did in 2021. So
that is a problem.
I think that's a massive problem. If you told me Chris Godwin was going to get 6 touchdowns, I would take him 100%. I'm very worried that the efficiency goes down in catches, and that his touchdowns stay relatively the same, no higher than 4. It's very worrisome because a guy like Baker Mayfield no longer has. Again, we saw it 2 straight seasons. Canales with Geno Smith revived career, and then Geno Smith sucks. Baker Mayfield revived career. What's going to happen this year?
But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Seattle. I'm putting a little bit more faith in Cohen in this offense than I am with. I don't even remember who Seattle replaced Old Boy with. So.
I mean, that's fair, but
Ryan Grubb, University of Washington.
No, that's now. Who did they replace Canales with last year?
Yeah,
that was the QB coach.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the point stands of like they need Dave Canales to be that good. They can't just retain that information. Like,
I mean, that seems to be the narrative everybody's pushing. I don't necessarily buy into that. I don't know. I notoriously am a Baker apologist. I don't even know why. I didn't like the fucking kid in college, but I find myself literally just apologizing for him all the time. So I'm probably too high on him. But
see, I was a fan of him coming out, and I thought he really was the right pick for Cleveland, especially where they were as a franchise. I felt like he was the safest bet. Obviously, that's shown stupid because Josh Allen was in that same class, but like, to me, he's had enough time to show us exactly who he is. He's a guy that's going to throw the football, but he's going to hang on to it too long, and he's going to make some costly mistakes, right? He needs a quality offensive line in front of him, and he has one of the best left tackles in the NFL in Tristan Wirfs. That's great. But he has no reliable running game, which means a lot of it's going to fall on his arm. Thankfully, he has two really good pass catchers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They can bail him out on occasion, but it's not going to be all the time. And that's why I think there's going to be some level of regression here. Like, yes, he knows some of the plays, he knows some of the offense and the terminology, which is great, but I'm not fully convinced that this offense just remains as good as they were. Like, we know Atlanta is going to take a step up, right? Their defense was really good last year. Their offense is going to be better. Carolina can't be any worse. Let's be real. They were so bad last year. If that offense makes even minor steps ahead, they should be fine. Their defense is going to be a problem, obviously, losing Brian Burns, who's really the best piece of it. But, there's not a ton of, competition there in the South, and we know what the Saints are. So, there's going to be opportunities, yeah, but they're playing another first-place schedule.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that tends to get forgotten sometimes when we're doing these level of projections. Like, can they get better? Will they get worse, et cetera? Look at the schedules. The schedules are going to tell you stuff. And I don't think the Bucs schedule is overly difficult, but I don't think it's a cakewalk either.
Well, Detroit, San Fran, and Philly don't sound too fun.
I just know the one thing. It's hard to project what you're going to do with Baker Mayfield in redraft because you're probably not going to touch him. But the disrespect I'm seeing of Baker Mayfield, even in super flex leagues, is ridiculous.
That I agree with. He's a quality QB2 in Superflex.
I'm fine as a QB2. Yeah,
I'm landing him as a QB3 in leagues where I go out and fuck with him. And
I think that's awesome.
And I'll throw a normal Superflex league in with best ball leagues. Baker Mayfield, I love in best ball because if I get Evans or Godwin early on in the draft, I get to wait 8 rounds to grab my quarterback stack and build everything else around that. So there's a point, there's a point of no return when it comes to Baker Mayfield. And like I said, right now I have him about where his ADP is. But as I pointed out in my article, don't let ADP fool you because all of these quarterbacks score basically the same amount of points. So that just feels like robbery getting him that late. But I'm going to take the guy who has Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, 2 of my favorite wide receivers.
Best bets. Ryan, you have Tampa Bay to win the NFC South at plus 310.
Again, positive money.
I mean, the Falcon, Atlanta can Atlanta very easily. Atlanta can Atlanta. And nobody else in that division is even going to, the Saints will play for it by week 16. But really the Saints are going to win that division. And then Josh, most regular season receiving touchdowns. Mr. Mike Evans plus 1,600.
I like that.
We've seen him score a lot of touchdowns. We literally just talked about the lack of touchdowns when it comes to Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
If Baker Mayfield is even remotely competent, he could very easily lead the league in receiving touchdowns.
And for my wild card one, whatever Mike Evans' receiving line is, the over, because it's too low. It's probably too
1050.
low.
1050 and a half I saw on DK.
Smoke the over. Are you kidding me?
They weren't great odds. I think it was minus 105.
The over-unders have usually been about minus 110 to minus.
Yeah, they normally sit even from those standpoint. Smash that shit. 1050. Blow it to smithereens.
The fact that it's anywhere near 1,000 means the books
is insane.
Don't know Mike Evans.
Yeah, that's insane. I know the house always wins. What's it? 7, 8 straight seasons this man has just
10.
10?
Yep.
He's old. 10 straight seasons.
That's my only worry with Josh with the most touchdowns is my man is getting old.
Okay. We'll see.
Still taller than most people on the football field, so
fucking truth.
Taller
and he did just sign a new 3-year contract, so clearly Tampa Bay believes in him.
And strangely, faster than a lot of people on the field as well at his age. Finally, we end up in the southern part of Texas, the Houston Texans. 10-7, same coach, DeMeco Ryans, same offense, Bobby Slowick as the OC. DeMeco Ryans came in did some really good work with this team. Bobby Slowick, obviously we saw what he did with the offense. That has put C.J. Stroud at quarterback 6 to start the season. Davis Mills is the backup. He's not being drafted. Joe Mixon, RB14. Damian Pierce, RB62. There is no competition for Mr. Joe Mixon. And Jawhar Jordan, RB81. Sounds like a shark name. Kind of cool. Dare Agumbawale, not even the best Agumbawale sibling playing in professional sports, because Arike is a WNBA All-Star. So, fun fact, Arike is actually better than Dare. But Dare, RB4, also kicker number 2 on the team, so he's not going anywhere.
That's fair.
Wide receiver 1, Nico Collins, wide receiver 12. Diggs, 23. Tank Dell, 25. And remember I said you can't find a 4-stack of receivers inside the 60 or not even the top 100? Well, Noah Brown is 101. So fuck you, Houston.
Yeah. Just missed it.
Get fucked, nerds.
We
Not
got
to mention
best ball drafts and raise Noah Brown's ADP.
Not to mention John Mechie should be 99. First of all,
John Mechie's 124 actually. So that's
I'm actually
not
very
good.
surprised you didn't highlight John Mechie, right? Not gonna lie.
there's nothing
He's
to say.
124.
There's nothing to say about John Mechie except
There
that
isn't. He had some opportunities last year.
The moment
happening
they
there.
signed,
They're talking him
Diggs,
up again in early camp news. So you know if the coach says the wrong thing.
The moment they signed Diggs, that was the death sentence on John Mechie. Listen,
The second I hear he's in the Cooper Cup role,
he will
Getting tight, Ryan.
he will always have those 5 straight catches against Auburn.
here's what's
in overtime.
hilarious about my love affair with John Mechie. I did not watch a fucking down of college football. Joe got me so excited about John Mechie.
Go watch the highlights of him against Auburn. It's insane.
that I am now a mouthpiece for John Mechie, who I know nothing about except he beat cancer. So go John Mechie all the time.
Look. All I'm saying is go watch him destroy Auburn in overtime in his last year in college football. And you should be like, yeah, that's a guy. That's a guy I want. So, yeah, Ryan is in the Cooper Cup role.
I've never been given higher praise. Emma is instantly in the Cooper Cup role of our viewers now, too. So
What is that? I don't...
Me and Emma are best friends. Swifties, the Cooper Cup role, perfection.
What is...
I'm gonna have to get out to Indy, not to hang out with Joe, just to meet Emma.
Just, yeah. Right, yeah, you don't want to see the new venue or come see a Fisher's Freight football game. Yeah, just chill on the game op side of things. We'll start with actually the tight end, because the tight end is tight end 13, and Ryan wants to talk about the tight end after we talked about 3 straight tight ends last week. So, why not a 4th?
Maybe a first. I'm going to go negative.
Because
at tight end 13.
It feels like a trap altogether. Tight end 13, I understand you're probably not drafting him, but I'm staying far away. When you look at the top tight ends from last year, the thing that jumped out to me is all of them are on teams that had wide receiver problems, and that is not something you can say from Houston, with the exception of maybe Evan Ingram. But Sam Laporta, they have 1 wide receiver. Evan Ingram, you could say they had 2, but Kirk missed a lot of time last year. Kelsey, they had 0 wide receivers. Hawkinson, for most of the season, they had 1 wide receiver. George Kittle, David Njoku, 1 wide receiver. Trey McBride, 0 wide receivers. Cole Kmet, 1 wide receiver. The people who were in the top 10, including Dalton Schultz last year, weren't competing against people, because remember, we're not just adding Stefon Diggs to this. We're adding a healthy Tank Dell back to this equation. So Schultz being a top 10 tight end last year is misplaced love if you're going to try to move him up rankings at all. He's a guy that when I'm in best ball leagues where I need to draft 2 tight ends, I'm not touching him. I don't think the value is going to be there. And when you look at just his numbers from last year, he can't afford to lose anything. 59 catches, 635 yards, and 5 touchdowns. If literally every one of those numbers goes down by 10%, he's worthless in fantasy football. And so that's where I'm standing with Dalton Schultz. He's 28 years old, just turned 28 years old. I think they're drafting tight ends seemingly every year. I think
They
we're going to
just sign
see
him to an extension. Like, he's very well set in this role.
But he's a
Yep.
good blocker.
Yeah, and he's also a good blocker.
but when you have inefficient Joe Mixon, you need good fucking blockers. So
I'm saying they didn't sign him to the extension because he's a really good pass catching threat. He is, but he's a top tier blocking tight end.
Well, and to go all the way back to our Stars of Tomorrow series, where whenever we had Coupon, where he talked about this is a team that uses a fullback, and he's worried about which one of these wide receivers is going to get pushed out. I think we're looking at this the wrong way. I think we're going to see Schultz get pushed out because you don't sign Stefon Diggs and not start running 11 personnel. I don't want to believe that Bobby Slowick is that fucking stupid. I think these wide receivers are fine. I think it's going to be Schultz who takes a back seat and just becomes a jag at tight end. He is a guy who I have zero interest in. I will be surprised if I find ways to get him onto my stream of the week list because I just don't see the upside. I just don't see it this year.
Well, speaking of Coop, I mean, he's always been a tight end proponent, and he always says what we're looking for is guys that are top 1 or top 2 targets on their respective teams. You can make an argument that Schultz is five, that he's the number 5 in the pecking
behind
order
John
here.
Mechie.
And when John Mechie's healthy, he's 6.
So, I mean, we know that Mixon can command targets. Obviously, we know Stefon Diggs can command targets. Nico led the team in targets last year. Tank Dell wasn't far behind him in targets per game. But, yeah, like you said, I mean, if they want to run with a fullback and the 3 wide receivers, even if they're just doing straight 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end, like, he's not going – like, they're going to have to scheme him to get the football. Like, that's basically what it's going to come down to. I think you might be looking at more than a 10% dip across the board in stats from Dalton Schultz this year.
He'll be the safety guy. He's the safety pin there. And I'm just going to take a wild guess. I don't think CJ Stroud's the safety kind of guy. And he has 3 guys that can also get
with those wide receivers, why would you want to be?
Yeah,
I'm really curious to see how much more this offense is going to throw the football.
That's an interesting.
Stroud had 499 attempts last year, but as a team, they threw the football 592 times.
I only bumped it up.
You bring in Diggs.
I only bumped it up once per game. I have them at 609.
I would say they'll be over 600. I think that actually helps Joe Mixon a lot because
I've been thinking about that a lot too. That I was going to actually highlight Joe Mixon as the player to talk about. I don't think his role changes much, except that this offense in Cincinnati, you had to worry about keeping Joe Burrow upright. That is not necessarily the focus of this Houston offense yet because we haven't seen injury problems with CJ Stroud. Joe Mixon goes from a situation where, I mean, he was a top 10 running back last year, and I may be underselling it. I think he was relatively high.
He was RB8 the last 2 seasons with
and I don't think the situation in Houston is worse. So I agree, Joe. I think what we're seeing out of this offense is positives for Joe Mixon.
I mean, I shit on him when they traded for him. Laramie Tunsil, I still don't think he's anywhere near a top-tier left tackle in the NFL, but he's been good. For what they paid for him, it was overpaid, but he's been good. You have Kenyon Green, who was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago. They just got Juice Scruggs in the second round last year. Shaq Mason's one of the best run-blocking guards in the NFL, and they have Titus Howard as a first-round pick at right tackle. They have a good offensive line.
And they invested heavily in that offensive line last year. Like, they gave all those guys contract extensions.
To make sure their quarterback stays upright. Learn Cincinnati.
Amazing.
Learn. So he's going to have one of the best offensive lines he's had maybe in his career, Joe Mixon. Like, he hasn't really been behind, I would say, a stellar offensive line ever. So he's going to have a really good offensive line. If you have not watched Shaq Mason, just watch this man pull as a guard. He's insane. Shaq Mason is crazy. Go watch his Patriots tape. It's fucking insane. But he has a really good run-blocking offensive line. Pair that with 3 guys who can get open. Yes, he had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And Tyler Boyd, you could say. Like, there were 3 threats, but were they ever all healthy on the field at the same time for more than 2 games? So you have all this, and not to mention there's a tight end you actually do need to somewhat worry about as a defense. So Joe Mixon could line up to be pretty good with this addition of Stefon Diggs. I think it actually helps Joe Mixon way more than it helps Stefon Diggs. I don't like Diggs at all.
I won't say I don't like him, but I think once we get into August and we're doing the more casual drafts, if you will, I think his name recognition is going to drag his ADP to places I'm not going to want to touch him.
Josh, I don't know.
I love Diggs, and I like him more at value over Nico Collins, truthfully. I think he actually leads
Collins
this
is
team in
high.
targets.
I'll give you that. Collins is very
way
high.
Too high.
He's too high.
They're basically putting him in the Brandon Ayuk stratosphere. Like they're people are thinking that he can maintain the efficiency. The biggest difference to me is that they didn't add a 25% plus target share earner in that San Francisco offense the way that they have in Houston.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that any of these wide receivers are going to command that level of target share unless one of these guys truly gets hurt and misses a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But to have Nico at 12 and Diggs at 23 is just asinine to me. It truly is. Like, I understand Diggs is getting older. He's entering his age 31 season. But we're talking about 6 straight years over 1,000 yards, 4 straight years over 154 plus targets, 51 touchdowns total over the last 6 seasons. Like, he is a earner. And we talked about this with Devontae Adams going to Las Vegas. Like, oh, the quarterback play sucks, blah, 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 this and that. Like, he's still out there earning plenty of targets, and it doesn't suck here. So why should all of a sudden CJ Stroud be like, you know what? Let me ignore the guy that's been really productive in this league for a really long time. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Where this offense truly struggled last year was that they didn't have an elite separator off the line of scrimmage in those early breaks of the route. That's what Stefon Diggs has always excelled at. He's going to be the guy that works in that 10-yard range with this offense to get Diggs and Dell open down the field, where they can utilize their yards after the catch and their game-breaking speed ability. Diggs has never truly been that.
And we talked about that last year because the assumption when Tank Dell came into this offense is that was the role he was going to fill. But what was really interesting is for a guy of his size, that's not how they were using him. They were using him as downfield 50-50 ball guy.
And they got him hurt blocking.
And then they got his leg broke. So.
Like, what's going to be interesting to me is, again, like, Coop brought up, a while back, like, bringing in the fullback, you have a tight end that you signed. I'm actually really worried about Tank Dell at cost. I think 25 is way too high. Like, the same thing that I said with Jayden Reed and going into more of those, like, 2 wide receiver sets or the bunch with the 2 tight
very
ends
fair
and
comparison,
running backs, like
the same.
That, Dell is a smaller guy. Yes, he is very electric with the football in his hands, but a lot of that production is coming from schemed plays. And that's the same thing with Jayden Reed. We're overvaluing the efficiency at this point, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when the offense is San Francisco. Not all of these offenses are San Francisco. They're extensions of San Francisco, but they're not Kyle Shanahan calling these plays, and they're not the same athletes on the field. So to me, Diggs is the most appropriately cost wide receiver on this team. I'm probably going to have a lot more Stefon Diggs this year than I will Nico Collins, and especially more than I'll have with Tank Dell.
I don't not like Stefon Diggs. He's still an elite route runner. I just think there's guys I'd rather have where he's being drafted. So here we go. Would you rather DK Metcalf or Stefon Diggs?
No,
Ryan,
DK, not close.
DK,
not even close. Cooper Kupp or Stefon Diggs?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, yeah. I will say, in my rankings, I do have Diggs a little higher. I have him at 21, and I have Kupp at 22.
But you wouldn't draft him.
But you're not. You're on the clock.
No,
you're taking.
I would
Cooper
very
Kupp.
much draft Kupp over Diggs.
Yeah. Again, I'm a DJ Moore lover, but DJ Moore or Stefon Diggs?
That's not the fact that they're close to each other is ridiculous. That's not close.
Yeah.
DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman or Stefon Diggs?
I
like that
might
one.
Take Diggs.
That one can be tight, but
that one's getting close for me because I'm down on the Colts as a throwing team this year.
Correct,
so
yeah. That's my biggest worry with Pittman. The target share is going to be there. I'm not 100% convinced that like he's going to have a very high yards per reception. Like he'll get downfield, but it's just going to be few and far between.
Sure,
that's why I would lean Diggs there.
I agree with that. Yeah, honestly, I would probably avoid both of them. But in this situation, I am counting that Anthony Richardson's going to get hurt, and Joe Flacco plays 6 games.
To
and Michael
Joe's
Pittman will
point,
destroy in those games.
So glad you said it the way you did, because you said you would avoid both. To Joe's point, when I get to this part of the ADP, I just click over to running back every single time.
Well, Ryan, here's the issue. I have already drafted my running backs at this point.
Well, so have I, but I'll just take another one.
Fuck it. We ball. Stefon Diggs or Tank Dell?
Diggs.
Well, I was going to say, right now I would go Diggs because smart people, Josh, Coop, are telling me that Dell's the one who's going to lose out, and so I'm going to buy into that.
I have Dell at wide receiver 41.
Yeah, it's the same offense. It's hard to evaluate guys 2 steps apart in the same offense. But Diggs or Zay Flowers? I think this is where it starts to
Zay Flowers for me.
Really?
Yeah.
It's Flowers for me as well.
Okay. Diggs or George Pickens?
No, it's George Pickens.
Diggs.
For Josh, it's Diggs. T. Higgins?
Diggs.
I think that's where I would go Diggs. They're right next to each other. Am I right?
But now, because you both love him, Amari Cooper or Stefon Diggs?
Oh, Cooper.
Probably Cooper.
That's
going to be one I need to reevaluate when I go back through my projections.
Well,
I do have Cooper a little lower.
Cooper's I'm starting to really worry about guys who are talking about missing time in the summer, and it's not like Cooper's young. So if Cooper misses,
it feels like he's been in the league for 15 years.
Yeah, if Cooper misses July, first week of August, I'm gonna start to worry about Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
he was a Raider when they were in Oakland. That's how old he is.
Yeah.
And then let's go like Christian Kirk or Stefon Diggs.
Christian Kirk.
I think you might have finally got me on Kirk here. Nope, I have Diggs 2 spots ahead of him.
You douchebag. But my point being is Diggs is high where he's currently being drafted in ADP.
Well,
or some of those guys that you're talking about, we're just higher on than consensus.
Or
potentially.
It goes back to what we said last year, and we're just seeing it in illustration again. My God, wide receiver is so fucking deep.
It is.
It is ridiculous.
I don't disagree with that statement at all, but he feels high. Like he just feels high.
Well, if you think he feels high now, Diggs is one I'm going to keep an eye on in August. I think we're going to see that ADP. I don't want to say skyrocket, but I think we're going to see a 5 to 10 point bump in his ADP when the people who play fantasy football inUgust come in.
The reports out of training camp are going to be very interesting for the Houston Texans.
That's fair too.
Because if people are there, you have a group of people that feel like Tank Dell is the wide receiver 1 in that offense. You have a group of people that think that Nico is the wide receiver 1. You have people that still stand Stefon Diggs, right? And it's just going to be, what report is going to come out that's going to skyrocket one or the other.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
So Ryan, let's just say he moves up into the second round. Let's say he moves up into the middle of the second round because he's currently in the middle to back half of the third. Let's say he moves up into the middle of the second round.
Diggs.
That is,
he's not touching him in the third.
I was going to say.
I'm telling you where he's at right now.
I didn't know he's in the middle of the third right now. That's
best ball though. Everybody avoids running backs.
Just fucking stupid.
I'll switch it to redraft.
If you're in the middle of the third and you're choosing between Stefon Diggs and Travis Etienne, it's fucking Travis Etienne.
In redraft, he's wide receiver 17.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even worse.
So and again, like
where are you pulling ADP from?
The Draft Sharks one that you guys send me.
Oh, okay.
Because I was gonna say Fantasy Pros right now matches Underdog almost perfectly. I don't know if that's the only thing they're using.
All right, so let me take that back. That was a half point PPR. You want to know where Diggs is going in a full PPR? Wide receiver 13.
Oof.
Say I'm gonna be hurt. By
what are we smoking, guys? What? Granted, Michael Pittman's wide receiver 12, which is insane.
People are high on Pittman. Obviously high on Diggs.
I don't know.
But that's an illustration of what I think we're going to see when the folks who I hate calling them casuals because that feels like I'm denying what they do, but the seasonal fantasy football players, not the assholes.
That's a better term. I like that.
That's a much better
seasonal
term.
fantasy players. I like that.
Not the assholes like us.
The non-addicts.
12 months. Yeah, exactly. And so when we see the seasonal people come back, I think the Stefon Diggs name is going to hold weight, and that's going to be an issue. So.
Well, so here, and I'll just go what they're. So this is based off ESPN, and even on Sleeper, he's at 16. So I'll just go off the ESPN because that is going to be your widely like Ryan said, your more casual seasonal fan base. Diggs or Mike Evans?
Oh, it's Mike Evans as many times as I can have.
Yeah. Diggs or Drake London?
That I would still take London.
Diggs or DK? We already said that. Ayuk, I'm leaving out of the conversation right now. Debo Samuel or Diggs?
I would take Diggs over Debo.
I am criminally high on Debo Samuel right now.
If Brandon Ayuk's gone for the season, Debo, easy.
Oh,
if not, I think it's more of a conversation. Jalen Waddle or Stefon Diggs?
See, that's where it gets interesting because I have soured on Waddle after defending him for 4 months against Josh last year.
I'll give you that.
I'm still going to take Waddle, though.
I would take Diggs. I think the ability to earn targets is greater with Diggs than it is with Waddle. Waddle's going to be that ultra efficiency kind of guy, and
I'll give you that.
That's going to be such a headache in redraft.
Then we go DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, or Stefon Diggs. Smith. And then Zay Flowers already talks about Malik Neighbors. I'm leaving out. He's a rookie. Then you get back to
I
Tank
cannot
Dell at
fucking
26.
believe Malik Neighbors 80.
Is that high? Why?
And then this dude went so early in, I think, every Scott Fishbowl draft this past week.
Why?
Relative to other wide receivers.
We were also drafting
York.
in New York City with
We're
drafting
drafting in New York
Jets
City.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all Giants fans hate themselves. Why would they take...
Well, they love Malik
because this
Neighbors.
is the time of year when they love to be optimistic. That's why.
God, wow.
Every time I saw his name on the board, my eyes got big. Because
Let me tell you.
He went
let
the
me tell you.
second round, I think, in one of those.
Yeah, so
drafts.
he was not a
wild.
consideration for me.
Let me tell you, my team's been bad for 3 years, and I haven't spent a single second being optimistic about that team. How the Giants fans do it is insane. I don't even understand. But my point being is, Stefon Diggs is third round, 7th pick in redraft right now. You're telling me the guy you can take at the start of the 5th round is going to be better than him? Like Ryan said, switch that tab to running back because that's who you want.
Yep.
It's like, it really is crazy. So around where Stefon Diggs is going, your running backs are Joe Mixon, James Cook. I don't like him, but that's fine. Devon Achane, RB1 according to Pro Football Focus.
Right.
But Alvin Kamara, I'm sorry. That's not even close.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara is bounds ahead of Stefon Diggs.
Especially in PPR formats.
Yeah.
Well, because he's going to have as many receptions as Diggs, and he'll also run
that's
the football
He may have
200
the
times.
he may have the same amount of targets as Diggs.
That's what I'm saying. He's literally going to have the same receiving production minus yardage as Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
But he'll also run the football 200 times.
And score 4 touchdowns in one single game.
And those are the only touchdowns you'll get all
I
season.
say it's all
though.
you're getting, but be happy for that one game.
But if you're sitting there and you're contemplating Stefon Diggs and Alvin Kamara, don't contemplate. I don't like Alvin Kamara, and the stats show he can't run between the tackles. I'm still taking him 100 times out of 100 over Stefon Diggs right now.
And it also happens to be where tight ends are starting to go off the board. Now I'm starting to maybe sour on early tight end, but if you're not, that's where you're able to land Laporta, McBride, Travis Kelce.
There's no third round tight end. Fun fact. It is Laporta 211, Mark Andrews 4-5, Trey McBride's in the 5th.
Wow.
ADP is wild.
I strangely might be taking a tight end in the 5th round this year, guys.
Well,
if
I feel
Trey
better about
McBride
it.
is there in the 5th round,
Yeah.
you're telling me I can get my
He's made his way up to my tight end too. So
yeah. Where's Kelce?
Kelce is 2-7. He's the 2-7.
Oh, well, okay. So okay.
Yep. So
Again, name recognition.
yeah, you're telling me I can get my 2 starting running backs, Keenan Allen or DJ Moore, and then another guy, and then Trey McBride.
I can't
Sounds
wait
great.
till next week or the week after or I guess it's the week after for sure, where I have to shit on Travis Kelce's ADP apparently, which is so unlike me.
Yeah. Let's go. Yeah, that's in. That's
if I
in
can
2
get
weeks.
Trey McBride 2 full fucking rounds after Travis Kelce, that's just
3
not it.
3
So,
rounds after Travis Kelce,
Yeah.
you can get Trey McBride.
no, thank you.
Fuck it, almost 4 rounds, you get Evan Ingram. Like
ADP, baby. We don't hate
ADP.
players. We hate ADP.
We hate ADP. Sam Laporta 211. Best bets to end the show. Houston to go 6-0 in the AFC South, Ryan. You have that at plus 1,300.
I didn't even research it to see how they
Who
did
says
last
no?
year. I was going to say, I just know they can certainly beat the Colts twice, certainly beat the Titans twice. It's going to come down to can they bounce the Jags twice. So.
The only question is, when do they play in Jacksonville? Because I think, and I'm looking it up, that's the kicker for me, is when they play in Jacksonville. Oh, it's in December. The swamp season's gone.
Yeah.
They'll go 6-0 in the division. They normally struggle in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They destroy Jacksonville at home. So I'm not, and also T.Y. Hilton no longer is employed by the Colts, who was notoriously the Texan killer.
Who was the Houston Texans' daddy.
If there's a definition of owning a team outside of literally having the Bill of Rights in your hand that says, I own this team, go look at T.Y. Hilton's stats against the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
It is absurd how good he was against that team.
Doesn't he have co-ownership with Derrick Henry, though? Wasn't Henry the same thing to the Texans?
No, Jaguars.
Jaguars.
He destroyed
Okay.
the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah.
Henry curb stomped the Jags any chance he got. He actually weirdly struggled in Houston a lot.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was Houston.
He struggled in Houston a lot. He'd still get over 100, but it would be on it'd be like 33 carries for like 110. So like he wasn't as efficient against Houston. No, T.Y. Hilton is the sole owner of the fucking Houston Texans. Just go look up the stats. There was a season he was horrible. The 2 games against the Texans, I think he combined for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's not an exaggeration. The man owns the team. It's insane. Josh, you have Stefon Diggs score 2+ touchdowns against Buffalo. And that is in Houston, so that'll help out a little bit. That's plus 750 in week 5.
Yeah, I mean, revenge games. Come on.
Here's the thing. But all right, so I'm inclined to agree with you because I agree. I think Diggs is this guy.
No, honestly, I think those would be the first 2 touchdowns for Diggs this season because I'm just waiting for the moment that he gets there. Stroud's still going to pick on Collins and pick on Dell, and then you're going to have some level of wide receiver outburst from Diggs being like, yo, I'm here to make some money and win some games and earn some targets, blah, blah, blah. And then, boom, right against a former team, Stroud knows the assignment. Like, that's what I think is totally going to happen.
I think that's fair.
I agree with you. Everything lines up. Buffalo's secondary their whole defense is garbage now. Horrible. Could be one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year. Bottom 5 for sure. Ever since Steve Smith and Deshaun Jackson left the NFL, revenge games have not been the same. They have not been the same. You look at it across what we said a lot last year. Revenge game, fucking flop.
Yeah, but Diggs has the attitude that can make a comeback.
I was going to say.
See, I agree. But, anytime Deshaun Jackson saw any team he previously played for, it was a guaranteed 100 yards and a 70-yard touchdown. Anytime Steve Smith saw a team he was playing that he played against or played for, it was 150 and 2 touchdowns. You could book it. I would bet the fucking house that Steve Smith would ruin that secondary. It just hasn't been the same since they left. So I'm inclined to believe you because I do think Diggs does have that mentality. But I also think that outburst comes halfway through week 1. So we'll see.
Is that early, huh?
Diggs against Minnesota in 2022.
I was just thinking about that, Ryan.
12 for a Bill 28. Didn't find the end zone, though.
I mean, that's still...
It's a good revenge game.
Fantasy points.
Not for Josh's bet, but it's a very good
exactly.
game.
I was just trying to see if there's any other ones.
But here's the thing: who in that Buffalo secondary is going to stop him right now? They got rid of everybody.
Exactly.
They literally outside of Micah Hyde. I think Micah Hyde's the only returner.
The worst thing that could happen for you in that game is that it's a Joe Mixon game because I don't think Buffalo could stop the run either. So.
Buffalo has a much better chance of stopping the run than they do stopping the pass.
Well, yeah, let's be clear. Everybody has a better chance of stopping Joe Mixon than they do.
No, Joe, they don't have Micah Hyde either.
They lost Micah Hyde too?
Yeah.
Okay, no, Ryan, I'm sorry. They have no chance of stopping the passing game. They at least have Matt Milano at linebacker when he comes back from injury. Outside of that, I don't.
That secondary is rough. Like
that's bad.
Taylor Rapp at strong safety. They drafted Cole Bishop in the 2nd round.
Taylor Rapp is in the box
Rasul
safety.
Douglas, who they traded for, and Taron Johnson. So Douglas will be on Diggs, but
Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, Diggs is gonna murder that kid.
I don't even know if he'll be on Diggs. Douglas, I think, typically stays on the side. So.
Well, he's going to be outside.
Yeah, I think he'll be dealing with Nico Collins for most of the game.
Well, Taron Johnson.
Oh,
runs
so
in the
then
slot,
Diggs gets
so.
to face 2022 6th-round pick Christian Benford. Okay.
Oh my god.
I mean,
or bust of a 1st-round pick from 2022, Kamir Elam or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Kair Elam. Yeah. No. Yeah. Diggs is gonna curb stomp Houston in week 5.
Gonna be bad.
all he needs is 2 touchdowns for that bet to hit. And mine, I don't know what defensive bets you can do.
The only ones I've been able to find are most points allowed or
total
least
sacks.
points allowed. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I've seen total sacks on DK.
I would be very interested in a Will Anderson over sacks bet because I do think he hits.
There's a team special for 10+ sacks right now on FanDuel that was paying well. I don't have my phone next.
On the season?
Yeah.
Will Anderson gets that through.
I heard you say that
weeks.
you think he's going to get 10+. It's I swear to you, Joe, I think it's like +12, +14, +1,500, something like that. It might be higher.
Will Anderson's sack prop on DraftKings over under 8.25 minus 110.
Smash it. You're telling me this man already played well in year 1, and now he has Danielle Hunter, one of the best pass rushers, opposite him?
Yeah, that's nice. I
Wherever
didn't
that
think about that. I have to go look at that 10+ one.
Yeah, Ryan, send me that 10+
I'll send it to
sacks
you,
thing
yeah.
because I'm taking out a lot of money to put on that. That is a look. If Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson get hurt for some odd reason, Jerry Hughes and Derek Barnett are the backups. Like they still have pass rushing ability.
That team, I'm telling you, we're already way too high on them after 1 year, but they could be so much better this year. It's ridiculous. D'Amico Ryans did the damn thing, plain and simple. So
He did. I mean, they did get Miles Bryant from the Patriots, who is the nickel corner, who is legally blind by
I was going to say
standards.
A little bit of a liability, but they still have good outside corners. So
they're very good. Yeah, they're all around good. And how do you hide a bad nickel corner? By getting to the quarterback with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. That is what you do. And their linebackers are good too. Christian Harris is fantastic. Yeah. And then Azeez Al-Shahir, what a revelation he was. He played great. All right. That's all, folks. That's all she wrote. A little longer of an episode, unsurprisingly, obviously. We didn't have to hold anybody up. We didn't have to rush on their schedule.
3 of us rambling. Yeah.
We didn't have to go on their schedule. We go on our schedules here. Look Inside is in full swing. Baker Mayfield, Dontavian Wicks already up. One more drops on Friday per usual. Next week, Bills, Lions, Ravens with low-name guest Liz Loza from ESPN. Probably never heard of her. Probably never heard of her.
Hell yeah.
She only was on a fantasy football show on ESPN. You probably never heard of her. What even is ESPN?
Giving her a big break.
Yeah, exactly. We like to give people their start here. Yeah. And we're happy to put a low-name podcaster named Liz Loza on the show, obviously. No, very excited. This will be her 3rd or 4th time, I believe, on
the
NPI
2nd time on NPI, but we've had her on twice for the WAF podcast.
For the WAF podcast. So 4th time on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. All Great Podcasts. Trade Block is a Dynasty Trade show, 8 p.m. Eastern Thursday nights. Mock Girls, Summer, Wendy, and Julia, 10 p.m. Eastern, but no episode this week. Mock It Like It's Hot, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Summer School, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Dynasty After Party, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Mocking with the Stars, Mondays at 10. Masterclass, Tuesdays, 8:30 p.m. And if you like a little golf, Who's Your Caddy, 9 a.m. Eastern, every single Wednesday to win some money on Golf DFS. For Josh, Ryan, myself, and TBD, you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships. Don't drive drunk like Jordan Addison. Who knows? It's just, we don't know if he did. Ryan aggressively thinks that he did. That's why I said doesn't drive intoxicated. So, designated DD. They call me a triple D. I don't know where I'm going with this. Goodbye, everybody. Defense wins championships, Opposite Fantasy Football. We will see you next week.